Okay. Carolyn will give you the order we're doing the samples in.
Okay, so first we're going to do the Distiller Select straight bourbon. It's a
Okay.
black label. Second, we'll do the gray label, which is the barrel strength straight bourbon,
Right. Right.
brown. It's kind of gray looking here. Third, we'll do the one with the wood looking label. That's the straight bourbon with a Cabernet finish. And then number four will be the straight rye whiskey. Number five also has a wood looking label, Mizunara Cask Bourbon. And the last we'll do is the New York Single Malt, which is the black label with a golden line on it. So, Michael, this is your bourbon club, is that correct?
Yes, for all intents and purposes, yes. We're much more
Okay.
than a club, but it's a collection of individuals who like whiskey very much and congregate
Okay.
at Prime Barrel Discord for all whiskey related talk and
Okay.
congregate on Prime Barrel for all Prime Barrel picks, which they actually are a part of. So like that's what makes us a bit different. We make
Okay.
every single selection as a team. So we alternate teams, and that serves the
Ah,
purpose because when you're trying to negotiate 6 to 8 different palettes on a pick,
yeah.
chances are you're coming out of there with a good barrel. So there you go.
So I'm Carol Ann Coughlin. This is Paul. We're the owners and founders of Taconic Distillery. We were established in 2014. We're located up in the Hudson Valley of New York. It's Dutchess County, which is 80 miles north of the GW Bridge. It makes a nice day trip if you want to come up for the day or for the weekend. It's about a 2 hour drive, maybe a little farther from Brooklyn. And I'm just going to hold up a picture of our place. This is what it looks like, a big red barn. So we're located on 120 acres. We have a beautiful tasting room, which is our fake background because we're not actually in there right now. We've got a big patio with fire pits. We have food trucks and music on the weekends. We are open every Saturday all year round. I think I said we have 120 acres. We started this business, we bought the property first, really as a weekend place, and built a little log cabin, and then decided to start this business in 2014. So it's been 11 years now. And when we began, we started out of our little red barn on the property. The picture I showed you is the big red barn. We operated out of there, did our bottling. We didn't have a rick house, so we bought a few metal shipping containers and put a padlock on them and racks inside, and that became our rick house, our bonded warehouse. And then it started sort of as a hobby. We sold really just in the local area, using friends with pickup trucks, delivering to local liquor stores and restaurants. And then we realized the business was growing and decided to build that building, which I just showed you. So we brought everything in-house at that point. So everything is done on site on the property now. We distill, we age, we bottle, we package, and distribute all from that location. We grow grains on our property. We grow some corn. We grow a little bit compared to the amount that we actually need. So we buy a lot of our grains from local farms, very local. So we buy the corn, the rye, and the barley. So it's all New York State. And the water is from our property as well. So it's a well on our property, and we discovered that we actually have a limestone aquifer on the property. So people talk about New York City bagels and New York City pizza and how the water is so great, and that's the secret. That secret water actually comes from upstate where we are located. So everything is New York.
I don't want to derail the topic right off the get-go, but how do you guys feel about the whole New York denomination or qualification, whatever the hell it is, the category, New
The New
York
York
Empire, New York Empire. Yeah,
Empire Rye.
So
Empire
yeah,
Rye.
so the Empire Rye is something that was started a couple years ago. We don't do it. I could care less about it. The whole New York thing is if you use, and I'm talking just about spirits, I don't know what the rules are for wine and for beer, But if you use 75% of your input comes from New York, it's a New York State product. You're allowed to sell it. Also, you basically, so we can sell literally everywhere under our marketing permit. So festivals, farmers markets, obviously our retail store. So there's a huge advantage in being a farm distillery. The Empire Rye designation, the only major change as opposed to anything traditional is, I mean, their bourbon rules and the rye rules are a little bit similar. You have to barrel at 125 or lower. The Empire Rye is just has to be New York State product and has to be barreled at 115 proof. That's the only difference. And it has to be a minimum of 2 years, which is kind of normal for everything.
Got it.
In terms of what we
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, it's interesting how certain brands are embracing it and others don't really care for it. I don't know if it made any significant difference for anyone. I think it just looks good on a label, if anything else. And I think it's more of a marketing thing than anything
And
else.
for us, it would have required us to change our process, which had already been established, and we didn't want to do that.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a
Thank you.
couple of the guys. Yeah, I mean, listen, the New York spirits business has had a tough time, as has all spirits business. A bunch of the Empire Rye guys went out. Now, what I was always shocked about, and I've got interest in other distilleries, is bourbon outsells rye, as you know from owning a store, 8, 9, 10 to 1.
Yes.
So I would always advocate people starting with bourbon as your main SKU and then backfilling it with rye. We would never do it the other way. Now we
Quick,
do have rye, and I'd say for every bottle of rye we sell 8, 9 bottles of bourbon.
and to that point, quick anecdote. We just came back, a bunch of us just came back from Kentucky. We go there what feels like every month this year. And I was laying in bed, like I was in a hotel laying in bed, and thought came over me. I was like, well, it's interesting. I'm in Kentucky. How many barrels of whiskey are actually here in this state, aging as we speak? So I looked it up. Care to venture a guess? How many barrels of whiskey are
It's
Well,
supposed to be more than
It's more than the
people,
people.
more than the population,
correct?
right?
Well, yeah, but by how much? So just to give you a hint, 4.5 million live in Kentucky.
I'd say 6 million barrels.
14 million barrels of
Wow.
bourbon, of just bourbon. And
Yeah.
then
More
if
than
you
double.
consider everything else, rye
Yeah.
included, it's only 15 million. So it's only one more million, which is
Yeah.
not bourbon. So
Yeah.
like when you talk about that disparity between rye and bourbon, that basically speaks to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we started the business 11 years ago, the straight bourbon whiskey was our only product. So we started with a single SKU and sold it locally. And then we expanded into rye and other finishes and SKUs. So now we have, I don't know, maybe a dozen. So we started with just one and kind of established ourselves that way.
Yeah, then the other thing we find is I can't off the top of my head tell you how many states we are, but I will tell you that everything north of, call it Virginia, the majority, now I'm not talking about everyone, the majority of the people will drink a, let's say, under 100 proof bourbon. Once you get below Virginia, it's going to be the vast majority drink above 100 proof bourbon and drink it year round. Up in the Northeast, we have a tendency from Memorial Day to Labor Day to move to rum, vodka, and gin, whereas down south you don't have that at all. Now I've gotten to the point. I'm a huge fan, as are you, of the high proof stuff. I love it. I try not to do anything below 125 proof when I'm drinking, and the highest barrel we've gotten is 137, which oddly enough was a rye barrel. I think it was a leaker that was in one of the containers and just got crazy, got the proof up high. But we just dumped a barrel the other day for a pick at 133.
Looks
Okay.
like black coffee in the bottle.
I mean, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I love the
Yeah.
proof.
I mean, of course, we did the hazmat rum with you, but that's not distilled by you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's another, the hazmat rum at 146 is another big fan favorite.
Okay. Like I said, I don't want to derail the conversation, but just a small anecdote on that as well. We are big fans of doing these things, virtual tastings, blind a lot of times. So we've done a couple of them, and were a great success. On the first one, I included that rum, and obviously people didn't know what they were drinking, and I had them guess what they thought that was. And overwhelmingly, people thought that was bourbon because it drank like whiskey. And they didn't guess the proof either. I think the guesses were in like a 120, 125 range. And when I told them it's like 142, I forget what it was exactly, but it was obviously over 140. People were amazed, and we sold out the rest of the inventory during that call. So just out there, like you do produce whiskeys and ryes, but you also source rum, right? Is that
Yes.
Yeah, we get the rum from Florida, Caribbean, bring it up white, and then immediately put it in the bourbon barrels, and we leave it for 6 years.
Okay, makes sense. All
All
right.
right, from some of the comments, it sounds like the animals are getting thirsty.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes. Let's
time
do
to, as we always say, time to feed the animals.
it.
So here, go through that.
All
So we're
right.
going to start out with our where are my glasses, Distiller Select, which also would mimic a bottled and bond. This is 6 years old, 100 proof, 50 ABV. Basically, our regular product at a higher proof. So obviously, grown, mashed, distilled, aged, and bottled in New York. Some of the tasting notes we've got off of this. Sweet nose, corn and cereal grain, some vanilla. What do you think? On the palate,
It's
made for
delicious.
sipping, enjoyable, easygoing, very smooth. You get a little more vanilla as it lingers in your mouth, honey, some butterscotch.
We'd love to hear from you too, if you have thoughts about what you taste and what you think.
Has anyone on the line actually had any of the prime barrel Taconic picks before?
A couple
Okay,
of people
Ken.
mentioned they did like the rum.
Yeah. Well, no, not even
Just the rum.
I'm talking about bourbon, not rum, because
Yeah.
rum, they don't produce rum. It was a sourced product.
Yeah.
But the bourbon, yes, there it is. So Ken's holding up the bottle.
I gotta take notes 'cause people are
Ken,
looking
I'd
for-
love to hear your thoughts on those two picks as we go through the tastings flight and how those compare to what we're tasting today. Because like
Yeah.
this first one is very reminiscent of one of the picks we made. Like that cereal note and the corn note is very, I would say signature to you. And then on the palate, the sweetness of it comes through as well. Like that's what I vividly remember about our pick. So, and it was super. It was not tannic at all. Like I don't really do well with tannins in my bourbon. I like it more.
We got Honey Nut
I like
Cheerios.
that. Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah. There you
All right, so
go.
I'm going to answer. So hold on. First time trying it. Okay.
They want to ask about the dog.
I know. I'm trying to write the pictures, the questions down.
Yeah.
The mash bill on the bourbon is 70% corn, 25% rye, 5% malted barley. So it is a little bit of a high rye bourbon that appeals to both drinkers. Someone asked about the dog on the label. The dog on the label is our old pet, no longer with us, Copper the dog. She's on her shirt too. I don't know if you can see it.
Tall enough.
I mean, besides being our pet or our old
Do
pet,
you want me to tell the story?
it signifies it's kind of like the where we are up in the Hudson Valley. It's big kind of outdoors fishing, bird hunting, shotgunning, fox hunting, horsing, and the dog kind of exemplified that outside lifestyle. The other thing, coincidentally, is that foxhounds were used during Prohibition because if you ever hear a hound, they don't bark, they howl, and that howl would carry a little bit longer, so they were used to keep away the tax man. Another reason they're known as man's best friend.
What was the age on this one?
This is 6 years, 6+ years.
Is this a regular release for you guys? Like yearly or?
No, we always have it in stock, but I mean, the big three that we always try to sell, because obviously fighting for shelf space is a whole nother, I could do a whole webinar on that. We sell our straight bourbon whiskey, the Dutchess Private Reserve 90 proof, our Founder's Rye. Now we're doing both of those at 115 as well, or tonight. And then our double barrel maple bourbon. Those are the SKUs that you'll normally see. We do those in both a 90 and a 115. Distiller Select, we have it in stock at the distillery. I'd be willing to bet that Empire Merchants in New York has some, but it's not widely distributed. And the same would be with the Miz and the Single Malt. The other ones are pretty widely distributed. All right, so let's jump on the next one.
It's a good start.
This is the 115. We call it our barrel strength. Again, this is going to be a little over 6-year barrel.
115 proof.
Okay, there you go. Shake that
Yeah.
up and so let me go.
Does everyone use Glencairn glasses for tasting? It looks like a lot of you have them.
Yes, almost exclusively.
And then the other thing with Glencairns, I'm not going to do this because I can't do it. If you knock them down, it doesn't spill. You can try that at home. Lay it on its side as long as it's not full.
I was
So
just gonna say, I learned the hard way. That's relative to how much you put in it.
Yeah. You put it in a.
Well, the trick is to actually get enough liquid in it so it reaches the edge of the glass without spilling it. That's the proper amount.
All right. Good to know. So we're going to take the bourbon out of the barrel. We're going to add a little bit of water to knock it down to 57.5, 115 proof. You get, for whatever reason, this one, you get a little more butter taste out of it. Stella sweet nose, corn, cereal grain, vanilla as well. A little more butterscotch on the palate. Finish is a little bit longer and bolder because the proof, you're going to get a little more flavor. And we get lingering notes of spice and a little bit of candied fruit.
Is this still a batched product?
This is a regular SKU. This got a 92.5 in Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible.
Is this bottle and bond or no?
Yeah. Everything that we do would be except the 90 proof stuff. Anything 100 or above would be deemed bottled and bond.
Okay.
So everything's distilled there. It's over 4 years, and it's in our rick houses. So what we use for a still is we've got a 30-foot Vendome column still with a doubler, and we've got 3 fermenters and 1 mash cooker. So on a single distillation, we can get 6 53-gallon barrels, and we use Independent Stave out of Missouri. Their Barrel Select, which are dried a little bit longer outdoors, Char 3. We get 6 barrels a day at 125 proof.
This one's real nice.
Yeah. So Brandon, one of the things, I mean, we've got a dozen, maybe 14 40-foot containers, and then we've got 2. And in the containers, we put them on wine racks. We've got a traditional rick system in the standalone distillery, and then we've got 2 other rick houses that we use. I would basically call it the Home Depot racking, just because the expense to do the ricking is so expensive. But those containers get crazy, crazy hot. So in terms of moving the distillate in and out of the wood, I would say that you can't cheat the aging process, but I would literally rather have a 4-year out of the container than a 6-year out of the regular rick houses. I mean, you really get that much movement in and out of the wood with the temperature.
Yeah, it's unbearably hot in the summer and it's freezing cold in the winter. And when we open the doors to the shipping container, you can't walk in. You'd pass out if you walked straight to the back.
Yeah, the angel
From
share.
the alcohol fumes.
Yeah, the angel share really gets stuck
Yeah.
in those containers. There is ventilation, but it's in August. If I open that up and we get 66 barrels in a container, you can't walk 4 or 5 feet. It's just the angel share is very pungent.
I grew up in the area that you guys are at. I know that you get hot heat in the summer like you're talking about, but in the wintertime, I'm guessing you don't get much movement in and out of the wood. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what the science is, but they will tell you that anything below, call it, 45 to 47 degrees, the aging process goes dormant. But which is, I mean, I'm sure you got the same thing. So in Kentucky, I did this on a podcast a couple years ago. The average temperature difference between where we are, call it Hudson Valley, Southern New York, and, Frankfort, Lexington, Kentucky, we are on average 1 degree colder. That's it. So we've got, in terms of the whole Kentucky, this and that, we've got very similar temperature and water, But we know we don't have the history and the pedigree just yet.
Someone mentioned vanilla caramels of our local confectionery, and that's kind of a fun pairing tasting to do. You can do it with caramels, chocolates, dried fruits. If you want to pair our bourbon with different things, it's kind of a fun thing to do. And Halloween, we did it with candy, like Halloween candy, Butterfingers, Kit Kats, Snickers.
Yeah, you can pair bourbon with anything. All right, so we're going to jump on to the cab finish, and this is a New York joint venture
Collaboration.
So I'm actually, if anyone's out in Long Island, out in Greenport, I'm going to be the guest bartender this weekend at Conta Costa Vineyard. So he's got a vineyard on the Long Island Sound, and we take his cab barrels and age the bourbon in those it's a 5-year-old bourbon, and then it sits in the cab for another year. He also takes our bourbon barrels and will finish his cab in those as well. And we sell his stuff, he sells our stuff. So we try to keep the joint ventures New York. I don't know if anyone's tried our double barrel maple bourbon. That's also our bourbon, and then maple syrup from Catskill Mountain Sugar House in Sullivan County. So this one, I don't know if any of you guys know Colonel Steve Akeley. He's got a big email list that goes out on Friday morning. His quote on this one is "Drinks like a bourbon, finishes like a wine, and warms you like sunshine." So again, same mash bill as the bourbon, 5 years in a barrel, and then spends the additional year in the cab barrel. You're going to get a little more complexity, a little deeper color in the bourbon from the cab. The nose on this one, you're going to get a little bit of allspice. Some people have mentioned cheesecake, and obviously the Cabernet.
I think the finish is where I taste the biggest difference in this one. To me, it has kind of a berry or a black cherry finish.
So yeah, you can also see, I mean, depending on the light, you can see a little bit of the redness in here.
Yeah, if you hold it up side by side.
I have to say, this is the first cab or wine finish product I've had at this proof level. Usually they tend to be higher proof, and I kind of like it much better than I do when I get them at higher proof.
Mm-hmm.
I think at a higher proof, tannins seem to take over a lot of times, and age is just not pleasant experience for most people.
Yeah, and the wine presence is more prominent, which I don't necessarily enjoy all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I myself am a big straight bourbon fan, but in recent years, people like to play around with the finishes.
How long does it stay in the Cabernet?
5 years. Oh, the cab year, one
In the
year.
barrel.
1 year.
So it stays a year, an extra year in the cab barrel.
So you want to do the rye next, or that's how you have it set up?
Yeah, that's what I told them. So for a little change of pace.
Justin says he's not generally a fan of cab finishes, but this is really nice. The wine integrates really well and doesn't overpower. I agree.
So we're going to jump over totally. If there's ever a time to have a little bit of water in your mouth, without your palate, we're going to jump over the rye.
All right.
Now the rye mash bill is 95% rye, 5% malted barley. All the rye comes from farms in the Hudson Valley. We don't grow any rye on the property. We just grow corn. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. If we get lucky, we get about 15 tons of corn, and then a daily cook is 4,000 pounds. So we burn through our what we have on the property pretty quickly. So this one, you're still gonna. I mean, some of the notes we've gotten from, again, it's a barrel strength, and then we add a little bit of water, get it down to 115, open it up a little bit. You get a little bit of sweetness, still very spicy, little butter in there, nutmeg and clove, but you still have a nice smooth finish. Jamie, there's the corn, it's not sweet corn, it's basically just speck corn, because in any sort of distillation, all you really want is to get that kernel, crunch it as much as possible to get the starches.
Now, the next one we're tasting is the rye, right?
Correct.
the strength
Yeah.
wine.
Yep.
You know, the last one, the Cabernet finish, uh, at first it's overwhelming, but when you taste it a couple times, it's really, really nice. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that one too, because I also like Cabernet wine.
But also, and this one got a 91.5 by Jim Murray. But tell them about in terms of tasting. Get the first sip out of your way, so the second one counts.
Yeah, that's when people who are new to bourbon and bourbon tasting or whiskey, I tell them take 2 sips, don't take one big swig. Take the first sip and let it tingle your tongue. And then the second sip, you really get the taste.
So again, totally different animal. People like the bourbon much, much more. I almost like our higher proof rye is above the 90 because you're going to get a lot more flavor, and the heatness seems to be mellowed out with the barrels and the containers.
Well, I'm a rye fan, and it was floral, but it was like a lot of baking spice, and for me, it's like very forward on my tongue. I usually get a hit on the back of my mouth, but this is really different. I like this a lot.
Thank you.
Someone said really good rye, sharp spice, but a good sweet counter. No, Jeff said that. Yeah.
I agree.
And if you believe there's a terroir to grains, that can affect the taste of the rye for sure.
Yep.
And it is 95% rye. And
What
it's
would
New
you
York
say
rye.
one single component of the whiskey making that is like the most responsible for the final taste? I know they all matter. I know they all matter.
mean,
No, it's hard to choose.
the-
Grains, water, and wood. That's it.
I mean, you obviously want to start with good water. If you talk to the scientists, they will tell you the barrel and the yeast are the most important thing.
Right.
And then, I mean, the goal of anyone in our business is, I mean, you want to be consistent in your product, which is kind of the brilliance of McDonald's and Budweiser, is that anywhere you go in the world, it tastes the same.
Right.
And the one thing that when we do with barrel picks, I like it when people come up and have a tough time picking a barrel, as opposed to, hey, this one's really good, and I don't like these three. If that happens, you're doing something wrong where you're not having consistency in your product. So, ever since we got that Vendome still running, it's been the same barrel manufacturer, the same char, the same yeast, the same enzymes, the same farmers, the same water to try to be consistent in our product.
So, Paul, you already have people clamoring for a single barrel pick of this rye. So, if we haven't achieved anything, you at least have one fan that wants to do a barrel pick. So,
We have
there's
some
that.
really old ryes too. Those are some of our oldest barrels, are the rye barrel
Yeah.
in the
All right.
rickhouse.
We're going to have this conversation, I think, a little bit later during this call. But for your benefit, because most people know this already, at the end of each call like this, we have a survey that I ask people to fill out, which is they're going to rate every single sample today. And then I'll share the results right on this call live, so you guys get to see it, what people thought about each sample.
We also
And
love
we
to
can-
host field trips for people doing barrel picks. We love to have people come on site and get the whiskey thief out and taste it straight from the barrels, which is a lot of fun.
I'm also reading chat, and Carl said exactly what I thought, but didn't really say it out loud. But he said he thinks this rye would be fantastic in a Manhattan cocktail as well. Big
It
spice
is,
to
it's a
pair and
great
sweet
Manhattan.
vermouth.
That's my favorite cocktail, and this
Yeah.
is the rye I use.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so we're going to jump over to the.
I'm glad mentioning a cocktail wasn't out of bounds or illegal for the call. So
Oh, yeah.
No,
I was going to apologize if that was a faux pas.
That's okay.
So Ken, we get all the barrels from Independent Stave in Missouri.
Yep.
And they're Cooper Select, which means they spend a little bit more time drying, and it's a char 3.
Paul,
So
is
I got
that
the
strictly financial decision, or have you actually gone through different cooperages and kind of settled on ICS?
So when we
I see.
So, well, the whole thing is the consistency, and they've been doing it for a million years. We tried to work with a couple of New York guys when they were getting started, but our volume would have overwhelmed them. And as a business, I wouldn't want someone making, a startup guy making 80% of my barrels, and
Right.
nor should they want me as their customer.
Right.
There's just too much risk. I mean, we'll toy around with doing some all New York stuff at some point.
How about things like Kelvin, for example?
For whatever reason, we started off with Independent Stave. No rhyme
Got
or
it.
reason.
Got it. All right.
And I always wondered that too, is like for like a smaller distillery like you guys are. Well, although you're doing a lot, but I wonder about the barrel cost and where that falls in. So it's nice that
Yes,
you get the
I'll go through
consistency.
that. And in terms of the barrels, we also, for whatever reason, we have used 53-gallon barrels since day one. We've never done any of the 30s, the 25s, the 10s, never done it. Because we've had the ability to age stuff, minimum 4, 5, 6 years. So there's no need to kind of try to get more, try to get more surface area and do stuff at a shorter period of time.
When does your distillate turn 7 on a rye?
We have 8-year rye right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So in terms of the cost, the barrel costs go all over the place. So when we first started, it was probably $240. So let's say because they kill you on shipping. We get tractor trailers every month we get 130 a month, and that's 41 grand. So I think the barrel cost right now is probably 270 plus shipping. But you go back 11 years, it was a little bit cheaper. And then all of a sudden you had the huge boom. Everyone got into the business. These guys started jacking up their prices, high prices. Guys start growing, more cooperages, price goes down. And now the barrel pricing is on its way down. Just purely supply and demand. And then you've got, the business is getting beat up a little bit. You've got a lot of contract guys that are, that their demand's not getting hit, so they're not buying barrels. And you got guys going out of business, which doesn't help. No, any friendly competition with PA? Not that I know of, Paul. All right, so we're gonna jump into the Mizunara, which is, got a lot of publicity a couple of years ago. Mizunara, a lot of the Mizunara finishes are very, very expensive because the wood is extremely difficult to get. It's very expensive. The trees are not super straight like oak trees, so it's difficult to work with. And most of the Mizunara trees take close to 200 years before they're harvested. So for that reason, some of these things go for crazy prices.
So for the Mizunara, is this a new barrel or is this? I know a lot of the history about them.
We got the barrel from a barrel broker and we got a toasted barrel. So what we do is we'll take a 5-year-old straight bourbon, put it in the Miz barrel for a year, and then filter it, proof it, bottle it, and then we'll basically scrape that barrel clean. And that's why we got it toasted, not charred. And then we'll rechar it ourselves and then do it again.
So is it a batch or is it just?
It's a single barrel.
It's a single barrel. All the finishes are single barrels.
Okay.
We do a lot more so in terms of the finishes that we do, and let's ignore the double barrel maple because that's a huge product. The number one finish we sell is the cab finish. Also because that's more of a reasonable price point. I think the price point, Michael, what does the Miz sell for retail? Like $120, $130?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little bit pricier.
It's just because of the price of the barrel. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah.
So
you also guys used to have port finish, didn't you? At some point?
Which one?
Port.
Port.
We did.
Port. We did a pick of port finish. Yeah.
So we did port, cognac, Madeira, and rye. But in terms of running a business, I just was managing too many SKUs. And as I said earlier, I want the 3 SKUs, both in 90 and 115. That's my focus.
Got it.
And we just, it's just too much stuff, too many labels, too much this, too much that, too much fighting.
Hey, I've got a question about that one. Most of the Mizunara that you get finishes are just so overwhelmingly with that, and that really is more of a subtle taste, and it's nice and sweet. But I just don't know what you guys are doing different, because, like I said, all the other ones, are you not holding it in the barrel very long, or
No, it's
what?
I mean, it stays for a year.
Yeah, that's usually, I've tasted some that were in one for 6 months, and it was just so overwhelming. And that one is, I was actually expecting that one to be that taste that I just don't like, and that one was actually very surprising.
Well, I mean, the only thing I could think that's different than what other guys are doing is the toasting versus charring. Yeah, yeah. So someone just said,
Yeah.
Mark just said that. That would be my guess, is that you're not getting that heavy char as well.
Yeah, it's definitely I would buy that one. A lot of if it says that on a lot of barrels or bottles, I don't buy them because they're just so overwhelming. And that was a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Then the other thing is we tried to price it so it would move. I mean, I mean, I don't want to say, I don't want to blame anybody, but there seemed to be a lot of price gouging with the Mizunara finishes out there. I mean, we had one retailer in the city that called me up and said, "Oh, this Mizunara stuff, it's not moving. What should I do?" I said, "Try this." I said, "Double the price and put it behind a locked glass," and it sold.
So
That
this
Michael?
this one
Michael.
So the one
It
we have
certainly
now,
wasn't us. We don't sit on this stuff. We sell it through it quickly.
so the one we have now, to me, is a lot sweeter on the finish than the bottle that we bought, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got a lot of baking spice on the finish on this on ours, with like almost a leather finish, and this one is much sweeter.
When did you buy the first one?
So Ken, here there was a caveat to this. If I recall correctly, we did several selections for sure, but that one, Mizunara and Port, we did simultaneously, and this was a collaboration project with Take. So Jay, right?
Yes.
And so I believe he picked the Mizunara one, and we picked the Port one. I think that's what happened
was
there.
it? Was it
Dude,
107?
let me look it
It's
up.
it's 107.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, that's what
107.
107.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the Take bottle. It's
there you go.
I can't see it. I don't know. I get it. Yeah. Yeah, bottled on 5/10/22.
Yeah, so the bourbon's a little bit older, but yeah.
It's delicious.
Thank you.
They're both delicious, both of them. I report the our early one. So,
And then going in a totally different direction. We did this a couple years ago. I probably will, this is probably 5 years old. I probably won't do this anymore. The single malt, here you go. You got it, Hammy? And mainly, I mean, there's a huge buzz on American single malt. It got ratified by the TTB as a legit asset class, so to speak. But the bottom line is, what we were talking about with rye earlier, American single malt is not a big market. So I would always spend my time focusing on bourbon and what you can do with that and rye, and not a big single malt fan. I don't know how other guys feel about that. Then the other thing is, I mean, it is made United States, but we just love bourbon. The sweetness of bourbon is fantastic. Yeah, Ken, it's growing, but it's such a small market that so even if it grew 10 times, American single malt, it doesn't put a dent in the bourbon market.
yeah, it's growing faster, but it's still
tiny.
like
It's tiny.
everybody's doing one just because,
Yeah.
and they're not. I don't think anybody's really putting a lot into it, except the people. There are some people that are.
In this one, what's interesting about
I would
this?
like them try to guess what's in there.
Oh, all right.
So Matt says it's an interesting finish or an interesting single malt, right? Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious with this one to ask people what they
So what we do,
find on the nose.
yeah, I'm not going to give
And
you,
what they
I'm not going to
taste.
give you the answer, but the malt on this one,
Dark grapes.
it's there's a specific type of malt that we use. Yeah, okay. So Matt is very, very hot on
There's
this.
a kind of
There you go.
There's a cereal.
You got it.
Somebody mentioned
You got
honey
it.
nut Cheerios
So
for the
Mark,
bourbon.
we use a chocolate malt.
Cocoa Puffs. That's my answer.
We use a chocolate
Yeah.
malt instead of regular malted barley on this, in addition to your malted barley. And we also have wheat in there, a little bit of corn. So it would not, this is like, you see the label, it says New York single malt. This would not,
It's not American.
would not meet the specs
Right.
for an American single malt because it's not 100% malted barley.
For the people that bought our Glens Creek Cafe au lait,
The chocolate malt is probably, I'd say 8 to 10%. I'm not sure this is the exact number.
yeah. And Paul, I was just saying, we did a pick, I don't know, like late last year, I believe it was, with another small producer in Kentucky, and he uses chocolate barley in some of his bourbons. And that was my favorite barrel that we did that time. It was great. And it had some of the reminiscent notes from this, specifically chocolate Cocoa Puffs.
It's just a little bit unique to give it a different taste profile.
I mean, I'll say this. We've tasted dozens of American single malts on events like this one. And every single time, like, it's very well received. But then from the retail standpoint, to your point, those things don't move as well. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's something about, I don't know if it's something about the preconceived notions about what malt actually is. I think people mistake malt for peat a lot of times. And those two things aren't the same thing, right? And so it becomes a hand sell for us. And again, to your earlier point, the state of the industry is such as that we, as small retailers at least, we can't afford to hand sell a lot of things. Like, there's only a few that you can do, right? So it becomes a challenge to for our shelf space. All of the notes all of the points you hit before. So very perceptive.
Oh, what is the mash?
So the other thing, Big Matt, another thing, you want to make an old fashioned with this? Make an old fashioned with our 146 rum for the summer. That should be your summer drink. Rum, so you can drink brown all year round. Do your old fashions with rum in the summer. So the other thing we have, any other Westward? Yeah, Brandon, totally agree. But in terms of a business, the goal is to survive and be successful. It's like I said, I would rather have just a rye business than just a single malt business.
Yeah.
Well, just like there's friends of mine on here that they can't stand single malts, and American single malts, they're either, in my opinion, they're either way out there and they're not that good, or they're really good ones. It's like that person just said that the Westward, I love the Westward, and your single malt is actually really good. But yeah. I'm sure he's not liking it right now.
No, but it gets back to the earlier conversation. I mean, when we go out and visit stores, you know, a guy will say, "Hey, I really like such and such. I really like this product." And I said, "That's great that you like it, but what do your customers like?" Because you know, you have to. And my goal is, we want to sell bourbon to the stores and restaurants and bars, but I don't want it to ever sit on a shelf. We want people to take it home, enjoy it by a campfire, enjoy it with your friends. That's the way whiskey is supposed to be consumed.
This one is weird to me. Again, I'm one of those guys who don't like single malt, but this finish is fantastic. I like it.
It's really interesting. Right?
I think a lot of it is the fact that it's not 100% single malt. You've got a little there, you got a little.
And it's crazy for me that the nose, I didn't get any of the chocolate on the nose. But boy, as soon as you taste it, it's like, it's just all in your mouth and in the finish is like it's like you want a glass of milk to wash it down.
Cocoa.
So it's like crazy.
It's like, for me, this isn't a sweet chocolate finish either. It's like a cocoa chocolate.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I really like.
Yeah, that's nice. It really is. That's very surprising.
And then my wife reminds me that in terms of the circle of life, all of the so we obviously we do 4,000 pounds of grain a day. We've got a separator, so you're going to get your distillation. The stuff's your mash is going to come outside. We separate the water from the grain, and the grain looks like kind of a wet sawdust. We have a farmer come, and every single day we feed 200 beef cows. So at some point, you can be having a cheeseburger at the distillery, sipping a whiskey where that cow ate the mash from that bourbon.
It's a very environmentally friendly business for that reason.
Well, whenever I don't want this one come up, I'd never heard of your bourbon, and I didn't really have high expectations of this tasting, but I am very, very pleasantly surprised on all of them. All of them.
What state do you live in?
Is this the Louisiana
Oklahoma.
guy?
I live in Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Because
Hey, Bob, that's exactly why we do these. That is, I mean, that's music to my ears, honestly. If we can open up a new, well-deserving distiller to your, and put them on your horizon, I think my job here is done. But okay, so yeah, I just sent you guys a link to a survey. It might be a little bit out of order, which is fine. You just be paying attention to the question, I guess, and what you're rating. And as you guys are taking a few minutes to fill it out, Paul, what's the future looks like for you guys?
The future, I mean, listen, the business has gotten beat up this year, or I'd say
Yep.
the last year for, depending on, I mean, we're in New York. The legalization of cannabis has hurt the business. Ozempic has hurt the business. The government saying that alcohol causes cancer is hurting the business. In general, sobriety, we used to just have to fight Lent. Now you're fighting dry November, dry this, dry that. So, I mean, and we had a lot of businesses go out, a lot of guys drop in New York State. So the goal is, stay in the fight, keep making great products, come up with a couple seasonal releases here and there, but stick to our guns and, get into more states as prudently as possible. So right now we're pretty much in they call it Mid-Atlantic New England, Florida, the coast, Texas, Colorado, but our focus is always going to be, at least as a business, in the tri-state area because we have the biggest market in the world. That's that simple.
Right. Have you guys considered Ohio or California or Texas or one of those bigger markets?
We're in California, we're in Texas. Ohio, I believe, is a control state, so that's a little bit more. That's a headache for guys like us. I think there are 13 control states.
Right.
One of them is Pennsylvania, which is contiguous, but
Right.
it's much more of a headache because a lot of those stores, you have inventory and a cashier. So they're very, very brand conscious because you don't have anyone hand selling. So
Correct.
it's not that it's done, but it's an uphill battle for us.
Correct.
But we'll keep getting after it.
So how far west do you distribute?
So we're in California.
Texas.
Well, west is California and Oregon, but Oregon state as well.
Mhm.
But I mean, Michael, do you have an online portal or no?
Yes, we do. I was just about to share a link to your entire collection, but something caught my eye, and that is we still carry some of the older releases that you no longer have. So I need to clean this up a bit, but we'll do that offline. But here's the link. If anyone wants to purchase any of the, any of the products, you can get it from the Wine Spot, and it's already filtered on Paul's products. So, like I said, there are going to be a few there that are derelict from days bygone, but most of them are accurate. Do we have a double maple? I don't
You
think
have
we
to
do.
have that. That's one of our top sellers. You got to have that one.
We
All right.
might not have it in stock, Paul, but let me double check.
Call the Evil Empire. All right, Charlie.
I'll call you directly. I don't need to deal with
Charlie,
them.
what do you think so Charlie, I would say, what do you think I did? I was in the investment world for 35 years. We raised our kids in Connecticut. The distillery's an hour and 15 minutes. Always wanted to buy a piece of land and do something with it. I'm a big shotgun guy. Not necessarily a hunter, but I love shooting. I'm a competitive sporting clay shooter. So we bought this farm, put up some, sporting clays targets, built a log cabin, and we would always have the argument, we have all this land, what are we going to do with it? And that's how we got into the distillation business.
What's the Duchess Reserve releases?
The Duchess Private Reserve is a standard SKU. It's a 6-year product, 90 proof.
Okay.
Yeah, the answer, Matt, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, weren't you talking about the double-barreled maple straight bourbon earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, so what we do, it's another one of our joint ventures with Catskill Mountain Sugar House. Ironically, we also have a huge maple syrup business, and our number one seller there is a bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup. So what we do is we take the bourbon, dump it out into a 55-gallon drum. Here we go.
That's the syrup. It's a 375 bottle, so it's half the size. But that's maple syrup, not alcohol.
So we put 53 gallons of New York organic maple syrup in a barrel, let it sit for 6 months, pasteurize it, bottle it, whole nother business. But then we've got those glazed barrels left over. We put the bourbon back in there, let it sit anywhere between 6 and 8 months, and then barrel it at 90 and 115. Now, ironically, the number one barrel pick we do is the maple. Our number one selling SKU is the Duchess Private Reserve. But the maple is big primarily down south because they don't have maple trees. So it's a little bit unique down there. Whereas it's not as big up here and obviously, New England, all that stuff, because you've got other maple out there. But down south, it's huge. And the other thing is, it's not a misnomer, but it's not super sweet. Everyone says, oh, maple, it's going to be sweet. You get a little hint on the nose and the finish. And my guess of how much maple syrup is in the barrel before we put the bourbon back in is, I would say it's, less than a gallon. So, you take 53 and 1, you got less than 2%. So it's very, very modest, but it's delicious.
Big Matt, I recommend it. We also use the maple syrup as a cocktail mixer. So when I make old fashioned, a lot of whiskey sour, a lot of different cocktails, I'll use, instead of simple syrup, I use our maple syrup.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like it would work really well.
Yeah, it's a really nice blend with whiskey.
So Justin, we did one guy from Florida wanted to do a maple finished rye barrel pick, and we did it. And you're definitely playing around with sweet and spicy on that one. But in terms of never thought about doing it as a regular product.
Have you ever done vermouth finished rye by chance?
No.
Okay.
We did a Madeira finished rye.
I keep asking about vermouth finished ryes to whomever I get to talk to. One of my favorite whiskeys, I think you can say of all time, would be Yippee from High West. And that was a vermouth finished rye. That was a blend of different aged ryes finished in vermouth, but not just vermouth, very specific vermouth producer in California. Sweet vermouth, yeah. And the company is called Vaya. And I've been trying to talk several producers into basically replicating that for us. But that hasn't occurred yet.
You should do it.
Yeah. So at the distillery,
New York State vermouth
yeah,
that we use
at the distillery in order to
cocktails.
support all the local guys, and we're also allowed to sell New York State beer and wine, and we try to help the guys. We do all of our cocktails with method vermouth, the New York State vermouth.
Local guys, yeah.
Yeah. And we use New York bitters as well, whenever we can.
So you said you had older barrels of rye on hand. Maybe, Michael, we could look at a rye maple finish. Maybe something to throw out.
One of the old ones.
We're going to get to that. In a second. I'm going to show you guys results of the survey. I think that's that's on there. But
Finish is
What's
better.
the difference between the Fox and Hare rye and the straight rye that we had tonight?
Fox and Hare and the Horse and Jockey are single barrel.
Okay,
And
it's just a single
125.
barrel.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
And
only
125.
difference. Yeah, and 125. That's the only difference. Yeah.
Yes.
all right, so I've added. So again, Paul, for your benefit, at the end of each call like this, we ask people to rate different samples that we've tasted during the tasting on a scale 0 to 10. Obviously, 5 being an average. Anything below 5 you don't really care for. Anything above 5 you like. In different degrees. And I've added a couple of questions to this survey just to kind of gauge where people landed in terms of having having familiarity with your brand. And so you can see it's basically split 50-50. Half the people did try it and half the people are complete newbies, which is great. And then we went into basically direct scoring. So straight bourbon, fair 6.8. Now, again, also for your benefit, when we do these battle picks, when we actually go physically to different distilleries to select battle selections, we have a team of people, and that team basically varies every single time. New members join, other people can go, whatever. So there are some tough judges. And so when the cumulative score is about 7, that normally becomes a selection, right? So 6.8 is just right there for it to would have become a selection. So it's a good score is what I'm trying to say, right? Only one person scored it like kind of mediocre at 5. And then everybody else liked it to different degrees. Somebody said 10. So that was their favorite thing, obviously. Distiller Select, right behind that at 6.6, a classic bell curve. Some people cared for it, some people didn't. And then if you take the averages, that's 7 as well within that bell curve. So good sign there. Cab finishes could be hit or miss. It's not the wine finishes, not for everybody. I can totally relate to that. So it fared a bit lower, 6.5, still very respectable score. Obviously is skewed by someone who clearly didn't care for it, but then most people did. And I liked it as well, to be honest. The presence of the wine wasn't overpowering at all for me. The star of the show is a rye, straight rye, 7.6. This is definitely a selection. And we'll get to we'll get to the barrel pick in about a couple of questions, but that's definitely number one sample from today. And on its heels is a Mizunara cask, just a tad below, 7.5, right? So those two are top 2. And then the single malt, why am I not surprised? Some people really dig it. Some people really dislike it. Most people fall somewhere in the middle. I honestly have never seen a chart like this for anything, honestly. So this is something new. So suffice it to say, we probably won't be doing a single barrel of single malt, but let's take a look at another question that I added, which was, hey, should we consider another barrel with you guys? And as you can see, overwhelmingly, people said no. I don't know what that one person's problem is, but I just kid. but everybody else kind of wants to do something. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I kind of put on my retailer hat. We have so many good things in the queue. I cannot possibly do anything this year, but maybe we come back to you in person as a group when weather allows, maybe in the fall, with an eye of launching something in 2026. Or maybe we do something next spring, you know what I mean? And again, when weather allows, because I've been to your place in the middle of winter and in the middle of summer, and those are completely 2 different experiences. So I'd love for people to have a good experience. Now, here's another thing that kind of keeps me up all night, and gives you a little bit behind a curtain look into the life of someone who's doing this for a living. When I ask people, all right, if you said yes to a single barrel, what would you want? Questions are all over the map. So like people obviously dig rye and Mizunara, but then people say, all right, well, I want cab. And then someone says, I want the malt. And then somebody says, I want the bourbon. So you cannot please everyone, but just based on the chart and based on what I've heard during the call, I think the rye would probably be a safe choice. I think that was number 1 on everybody's list, and we can start there and then go from there. But like you and I will talk offline, we'll figure something out. You and I already have even a label design that we at some point designed, but never got put to good use. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do something with it finally. So what'd you guys think?
Yeah, no, listen, I want to thank everyone for taking, an hour out of their busy schedule to listen to our story, and I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. And
Well,
Michael for hosting it and
Of
inviting
course,
us.
likewise.
Before-
Thanks
That
for
was a lot
that.
of fun.
before you
Okay.
leave, I got one question for you.
Yes.
On what on your mash bill and stuff, were you kind of going towards a certain mash bill that you liked on different types of bourbons, or what made you do that mash bill and kind of do what you do? Because like I said, most of these tastings, there's at least a couple that I don't like, and I liked all of them, and I'm just kind of wondering what you guys are doing that everybody else is not getting or something.
So on the rye, the rye is pretty traditional. The rye is a almost a 100% single grain. So we put a little bit of malted barley in there. No rhyme or reason. The bourbon is we want a bourbon that wasn't too sweet, that would appeal to rye drinkers. When we were first doing this, we tested a whole bunch of different bourbons. What palate do we like? And I mean, 25% is a pretty high rye, but you still have a lot of sweetness, and I think it appeals to almost all drinkers.
And we've kept it consistent over time. And it literally was kind of around the dining room table. We tasted a bunch of samples and decided which one we liked best.
Yeah, if you want a
And stuck with it.
little sweetness, you go with the maple, but we really have not played around with I mean, we have a wheated bourbon as well, where we swap out the 25% rye, and the wheated bourbon we also put 5% chocolate malt in as well. But other than that, the mash bills are pretty straightforward.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for being great hosts. Thank you for donating all this whiskey to this event. That doesn't go unnoticed. I appreciate it, and I value your friendship and relationship. We've been able to build over the years. I told the guys I had to do a little bit of a hand sell even for this event, but I told them they won't regret it. So did I keep my word or not?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, it was
Yes.
good.
Great.
Get a good turnout.
Yeah, we were.
It's
All
a
right.
solid pick. It is, I enjoyed our previous picks, and this is, and like I think it was Bob that said, there wasn't one here that I didn't like,
Yeah.
and was very
Exactly.
surprised at the New York single malt. That was good.
Yeah.
And then, I
Well,
mean, we're pretty easy to find. If you have any additional questions or comments or whatever, you can track us down through the website or social media. But happy to answer any additional questions if you think of them later.
Yeah, go follow them on Instagram. They have a pretty active account. So,
Okay.
all right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you,
Have
Ray.
a great
Appreciate
rest
it.
of your night.
Thank you guys.
All right.